A cursed town on Halloween with a cornfield? Sign me up. Are you ready for the harvest? Hey Twisted people, it's your Twisted Girl here, Chauncey K. Robinson, and today I am doing a spoiler-free review of the new Halloween movie, Dark Harvest. In a cursed town, the annual harvest becomes a brutal battle for survival. On Halloween 1963, Sawtooth Jack, a terrifying legend, rises from the cornfields, threatening the town's children. Groups of boys unite to defeat the murderous scarecrow before midnight. Richie, a rebellious outcast, joins the run, motivated by his brother's previous victory. As the hunt progresses, Richie makes a shocking discovery and faces a pivotal choice to break the relentless cycle. Directed by Slade, Dark Harvest is based on the novel by Norman Partridge. Dark Harvest is a fun, bloody time with a lot of charm to it, plus an unexpected dose of heart. Dark Harvest genuinely has a lot of scary, spooky moments in it. And yes, some of those moments are cliche and things we're very much used to in other horror films, but that's what makes it fun. And it's not completely predictable in that sense either. I would say a lot of the scares and the jump scares and things are a play on things maybe you've seen before, but in a new kind of light. And I think they play on that idea of being afraid of what's in the cornfield, walking down a dark alley, something not being there and being there suddenly again in a really effective way that makes you, if you're someone who enjoys the Halloween spooky, scary time, I think you'll relish in a lot of these moments. The film definitely moves quick. It's only a little bit over an hour and a half, and it definitely uses every moment and minute of the movie to get things going. There's rarely a lull or a dull moment in this film. Things pretty much happen very quickly. You're very much thrown into the season because this is happening around Halloween and what's going on. Even the flashbacks and all of that stuff, all of it goes pretty succinctly in a very efficient way. So although the movie isn't like 2 hours or so where, we're at a point where a lot of movies are just like running long these days, even horror flicks, it definitely uses each of those minutes efficiently. So it's very jam-packed. Another strong positive of the film is that it has solid acting and characters that are actually likable and or relatable and or believable, because not all characters are likable, but they're believable. One of the things some people have a tendency to feel that if it is a horror film that you don't necessarily have to care about the characters, that you're just kind of waiting for negative things to happen to them anyway, so why get attached? Well, I'm of the school of thought that believes that if you actually care about some of the characters, at least your main characters anyway, that raises the stakes of the scares because you're actually having tension on whether or not they'll make it, for better or worse. I mean, sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes you want to turn off your brain and just watch the scares. But other times I think you really want to connect to the character so you care about the horror journey that they're going through. And Dark Harvest does not disappoint in that regard. In particular, our lead characters, which is Richie and eventually his friend or so, Kelly, really shine through in terms of their connection. Richie being something of an outcast, Kelly also being something of an outcast for certain subtle and certain obvious reasons, and how that goes about in terms of being a part of this town that has this really dark ritual that perhaps is good or perhaps is bad. And so you're going on this journey with them, and our two young actors do a really great job in having you connect. And I think the supporting characters, although brief, because like I said, this movie moves very quick and is very packed in, so you're not really sitting in long scenes with people, they still color the atmosphere in a really effective way. And even though this is, I feel like the top aspect of this is that it's a genuinely cool, scary movie with some solid jump scares and a cool monster, I think within that, they do a pretty decent job of having poignant themes in it, such as the idea of tradition, dogma, the idea of rebelling against authority, the idea of conformity, and things like that. And I think that's somewhat baked within this film in a very solid way. I mean, they're not sitting there unpacking it. It'd probably take another hour or so to really dive deep into it, but these themes are skimmed well enough that you notice them. And so it doesn't just become a movie that is just high on the horror and low on the meaning behind it. Now, with all of that said, this is not a perfect film. Rarely any film is perfect, so there are a few cons here. My major gripe with Dark Harvest is you have to employ a lot of suspension of disbelief in this film. AKA, there are a lot of things that one could call plot holes, or one can call really super vague to the point where it's frustrating in understanding how certain things came about. In this particular aspect, I do think while I like a good mystery and I don't need everything spelled out for me, I do think the film could have been a bit stronger had it kind of gone a little bit deeper into the lore of why the town is the way it is and why we are doing these things. And I think because of that, if you're willing to push aside not really understanding that so much, you can really enjoy it. But if you are someone who's like, listen, I'm gonna need an explanation because it's kind of hard to believe these people keep doing this year in and year out, and wow, why? What's going on here? I need a deeper explanation. There's a sort of surface explanation, but one could argue that it's somewhat lacking. And from my understanding, from doing some research on the novel that this movie is based on, it would seem that readers of the novel actually had the same kind of issues with it. So the movie, if you are someone who read the book and are hoping that the movie kind of rectifies that, it does not. My second and last gripe with Dark Harvest is pretty much that I feel like there were one too many times for me where certain characters made decisions that didn't make much sense to me. Another aspect of having to suspend disbelief and just kind of go with it for the story to progress. But when you kind of stop afterwards, you're like, they could have made a completely different decision and this could have gone a completely different way. It didn't have to go that way. And if you're someone who watches a film and thinks, why do they have the character do that just to get to the next plot point, you will probably be frustrated with this. Now, if you are someone who can look past those two things, those two cons that I spelled out for you, then you will probably still very much enjoy this film because I think it has enjoyable moments that far outweigh the negative aspects of it. My overall grade for Dark Harvest is a B. I think this is a quality, nice, good installment for the Halloween spooky season, or anytime you're feeling in watching a spooky movie that doesn't overstay its welcome. I would definitely put Dark Harvest on the list. And it has a cornfield, and cornfields are always spooky. When are they not? Okay, Twisted family, let me know if you're planning on watching Dark Harvest, and if you have watched Dark Harvest, let me know your thoughts. Comment down below. Let me know. And as always, stay creepy out there.